for the person that transgressed against you, forgiveness is, you have to change your perspective. You have to look at things differently. You can't look at it from a fleshly perspective of, about, you can't look at it from a point of, oh, I was hurt, this person did this to me. You have to have empathy, and you have to be able to change your perspective. So one of the things that I will use an example of for is like, okay, my father was not active in my life, right? My father, and obviously I went through a lot of unnecessary turmoil because of that, right? And so I could sit here and say, I hate my dad and he did this, da, 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 and he wasn't there. But when I switch my perspective and I really look at him for who he truly is, he grew up in a toxic home. He grew up in a home where he was abused. He grew up in a home where he had his mother tell him he was never going to be anything. You're never going to do anything with your life. You ain't this, you ain't that. And what I'm looking at is a person who actually believed that. And so what I'm looking at is somebody who lost the battle of their soul, who's losing the battle of their soul, right? And so one of the revelations that God had gave me about forgiveness is you have to forgive people for losing the battle. One of the most powerful scriptures in the Bible is when Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And so you have to have an understanding, a spiritual understanding that, when somebody hurts you, it's because they're losing the battle within. And it is not personal against you, right? If my father was to have other children, they would have got the same result. It's not like my father said, hey, I'm just going to neglect you because you're you. He's literally losing a battle. And so, what you have to understand when somebody's being toxic towards you, they're abusive towards you, it wasn't because of you. It wasn't because they looked at you and said, I'm going to abuse this person. They would have done that with anybody. You just so happen to be the person that got in the way of the wrecking ball. And so you have to forgive people for losing the battle, because that's essentially what it is. They're losing the battle within. Anybody that wants to cause you harm, they're losing the battle within. And you have to say, you know what? I forgive you for losing the battle. I forgive you for not being able to fight those demons. I forgive you for not, I forgive you for not taking these things up with God, who could help you and strengthen you so that you can turn away from those toxic ways. You can turn away from those sins. I forgive you for that. I forgive you for that. And you have to, for me, it even got to a point where I was able to pray for him and say, God, deliver him. God, save him. God, bring him to a place of healing. God, and that's when you really realize, like, man, you're really walking in healing. And so for yourself, you have to let go of the shame. A lot of toxic relationships bring people shame. You are shamed. How could I have not saw this person for who they were? How could I have gotten with this person and not, and not? You have to forgive yourself for not knowing. You didn't, and you have to forgive yourself for, if you did know, not doing. Right? Like, you're human. You have to show yourself grace, and you have to realize that life is for learning. You're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to go through life and not make mistakes. You're not going to go through life and not, you look at the Bible, you look at people like David, who went as far as killing somebody in order to get his wife. A lot of us ain't did nothing that bad. So if David can recover, you can recover, right? And so you have to give yourself grace and realize, you know what, I messed up, but I can change this. God has given me another opportunity today to make the changes. And you have to, continue every day to take advantage of that opportunity that God gives you every single day. And to answer that last one, how do we forgive God? Because obviously there's a lot of people who, it's kind of an oxymoron to say forgive God, because God is perfect. There really is nothing to forgive him for, but we often perceive it as, well, God, why did you allow this to happen to me? And what you have to understand about the character of God is he's a purposeful God. when he allows something to happen, you better believe there's a purpose behind it. You better believe that there's some way he's going to work it out for good. Just like me, I went through this toxic marriage, and I'm like, God, why didn't you stop me from doing this? Why did you, why did you let me go through this pain? But then he says, okay, I'm going to take your pain, I'm going to raise you up, and I'm going to allow for you to reach people so that you can help them with their pain, right? And so if I had not went through a toxic relationship, I wouldn't know anything about toxic relationships. I wouldn't be talking about it. I wouldn't be able to help other people who are going through toxic relationships. And so you have to, no matter how bad the pain is, and I know there's been some very heinous things that's happened to people, you have to believe that God's word is true, that he does work out all things for good for those who love him. And you have to understand that there is a purpose, and there is a reason beyond our understanding a lot of times why God allowed things to happen. And you may not understand it right now. You may not fully understand it till you meet God face to face. And as humans, we have to stop trying. We have to use our discernment in getting to that point of understanding that, okay, this is just something I may not ever really have a full understanding of, and I'm okay with that. Or this is something that I'm going to have to wait for God to really reveal to me, what he really wants me to do with that. And so, and as far as like forgiving God, you really just have to understand that and accept that you're not going to understand everything God is doing, or what he allows, why he allowed something to happen. It's far beyond what our human minds can actually grasp.
Thank you for watching this video. If you want more content, subscribe over here and watch the next video over there. God bless you.